I believe I have to answer your question from politics of transitions that Iran must reconsider, um, especially in the aftermath of Israel's invasion on its main territory. And for that matter, I believe that the first transition that I would propose for Iran's foreign policy is from sectarian hegemony to regional inclusivity. I believe that Iran must refrain its foreign policy narrative by shifting from a sectarian Shia centric worldview to a model of inclusive Muslim solidarity. This reorientation is crucial for improving regional integration and restoring Iran's credibility among Sunni majority neighbors. Take an example of Pakistan, where public and state support for Iran transcended sectarian lines. Everybody was there for Iran. It demonstrates that a non sectarian foreign policy garners broader regional sympathy and legitimacy. Iran must engage with its neighbors based on mutual respect, pan Islamic cooperation, and shared regional interests rather than through ideological affiliations. This transition will soften Iran's image. It will reduce regional isolation and it will enable constructive diplomacy in the Muslim world. And from here, I take the second transition that Iranians must consider, and that is from authoritarian governance to political pluralism. I believe that Iran's internal stability hinges on transforming its domestic structure from hardline authoritarian control to a more open, participatory, pluralistic governance model. I mean, current restrictive political environment has led to widespread discontent, stifling Iran's human capital and weakening its social cohesion. Structural reforms, increased political freedom, liberal socio-economic policies are necessary to gain public trust and foster innovation. A more open system will also undermine efforts of hostile foreign intelligence agencies that exploit domestic unrest. And you saw recently, we felt as if the agents of Mossad were roaming around into the streets of Tehran and they caused irreparable damage to Iran by the killing of top-notch nuclear scientists and wonderful top military leadership. So, national resilience in today's world stems not from coercion, but from legitimacy, inclusion, and the active participation of an empowered citizenry. The third transition that I would jump to from the second one is from strategic isolation to collaborative defense industrialization. I believe that Iran's defense posture must evolve from relying solely on indigenous weapons development to establishing strategic defense partnerships, defense alliances, particularly with the Asian powers like China, with a neighbor like Pakistan. While Iran has demonstrated resilience in developing homegrown capabilities under sanctions, homegrown missiles and homegrown missiles and rockets, and the limitations of this approach have become apparent in the face of modern warfare requirements and rapid technological change, if I may say. A collaborative defense industrial strategy would not only enhance Iran's conventional military capability, but it would also integrate it into broader regional security networks, strengthening deterrence against adversaries like Israel. So, by partnering with countries like China and Pakistan, nations that have success, these two countries, they both have successfully co-produced platforms like JF-17 Thunder. Iran can take example from, they take lesson from these countries, and it can diversify its arsenal, modernize its defense system, and benefit from technology transfer. These alliances would sign a shift from isolation to cooperative security engagement, I believe that. And then it would be reducing Iran's strategic vulnerability. So, furthermore, I believe that regional defense collaboration can foster economic interdependence and political goodwill, reinforcing Iran's integration into Asian security and economic architecture, where Iran is still missing itself. So, this transition will allow Iran to move beyond survivalist military policy and towards a proactive, modernized, regionally aligned defense doctrine capable of safeguarding national sovereignty and projecting influence constructively. I believe that this strategy, this transition is the need of the time for self-reliant from self-reliant isolation to regionally integrated military partnerships. I would once again give you the example of JF-17 Thunder that Pakistan and China uh, co-partnered, and I believe that this kind of example will raise Iran's conventional warfare potential. Technology transfer, joint research, regional defense manufacturing can significantly upgrade Iran's military assets while building long-term strategic alliances. So this collaborative model would reduce Iran's vulnerability, and it would diversify its procurement sources and serve as a diplomatic tool to embed Iran into Asia's security network. The fourth transition is from rhetoric to strategic nuclear clarity. That is something really very blunt, I would say, to all Iranians, and that is that after nearly 25 years of international speculation and internal indecision, Iran must transition from rhetoric posturing to strategic clarity regarding its nuclear ambitions. They must stop talking and they must start working now. I mean, constant ambiguity has neither deterred enemies nor won allies. Instead, it has prolonged sanctions and raised regional tensions. Iran must define a clear direction, either firmly committing to a peaceful nuclear energy program under IAEA, or by strategically developing a credible deterrent posture without provoking direct conflict. So this clarity will reduce external pressure, solidify Iran's regional status, and allow it to recalibrate its national security doctrine within realistic boundaries of diplomacy and deterrence. I believe that that is what is the need of the time. And fifth, the transition. I don't know if I will go beyond that, but fifth, I think that that is from economic defiance to strategic engagement with the West. 45 years of sanctions have devastated Iran's economy, increasing poverty and undermining national growth. Therefore, to restore economic sovereignty and social welfare, Iran must recalibrate its relationship with the West, particularly with the United States, through pragmatic diplomacy. This doesn't imply abandoning strategic autonomy, but rather adopting a posture of constructive engagement. I believe that Iran can leverage all soft power, cultural diplomacy, and shared climate or trade interests to rebuild the channels of cooperation. By doing so, it can dismantle the anti Iran narrative, attract investment, ease sanctions, and re enter the global economic system, ensuring long term national prosperity and regional influence.